Today we're going to be taking a look at all the changes in patch 25.S1.4. It's another huge patch and we've got tons more buffs, nerfs and changes, and each patch so far this season seems to be as big or if not bigger than the previous one. So overall we've got buffs to Ashe, Echo, Gangplank, Jace, Nautilus, Sion, Teemo and Yasuo, nerfs to Hwei, Kalista, Kog'Maw, Lulu, Twitch and Warwick, and adjustments to Mel, Diana and Elise, as well as some item changes too. First up with the buffs then, Ashe has been pretty underwhelming all season so far, and after a solid season last year, it seems about right for her to be getting some buffs. In this patch, they're buffing her Q and W's AD ratio and her ultimate's base damage. Echo's Q's outgoing base damage is also being increased by 10 at each rank. Gangplank hasn't really been too popular this season and still fits in that one trick category, so he's getting his AD per level increased from 3.7 to 4.2. Jace's W is now being changed to benefit from the attack speed cap increases from last patch. Nautilus's win rate has been a bit depressing for a while now, so now his Q's base damage is being increased by a total of 15 at each rank. Sion's base armor is going up from 32 to 36 and his base HP regen is going up from 7.5 to 9. Teemo Jungle is being buffed again with his E's toxic shot monster damage ratio being increased from 125% to 145%. Yasuo's crit strike damage ratio on his passive is being increased from 90% to 100%, which is pretty interesting because usually we get the same for Yone, but as far as we can tell so far, it's just Yasuo this time. Let's get on to the nerfs next then, and first up we have Hwei. His passive's AP ratio is being reduced from 35 to 30%, his QW's base damage is being reduced at lower ranks, and his WE's damage per flare is being reduced with its AP ratio and 5 of its base damage at each rank too. Kalista has been a bit too strong in high elo and pro play recently, so her W's passive's target max HP ratio is being reduced. Kog'Maw's stats have been a bit too crazy recently, so he's getting some nerfs this patch, but only to his Q's damage, bringing the base damage down but also increasing the AP ratio by 10. This really isn't going to make too much of a difference as to what Kog'Maw is good at though, which is scaling up and melting entire teams with her on-hit damage. Lulu has been the best support in the game and one of the best champions in the game for most of this season so far, so it's about time we saw some nerfs. They're nerfing the bonus attack speed from Whimsy, but also increasing the cooldown too. Not only that, but they're also reducing the base damage and shield on her E as well. Warwick is another champion that's been busted in the jungle and the top lane for most of this season. So now they're nerfing him by increasing the mana cost of his Q. Now this will impact him a little bit in the top lane, but won't really affect him in the jungle. Let's check out the champion adjustments next then, and the first one is Diana, who's been tearing up the jungle this season so far. So what they're doing is basically reducing the monster damage on her passive from 300% down to 225, which is a pretty big nerf. To compensate for this, they're increasing the base damage of her Q by 10 at every rank, and also increasing the base damage per orb of her W by 2 at every rank as well. Now overall, this is going to hurt Diana jungle, there's no getting around that. But Diana mid lane has actually been underrated for quite a while now, so we could see her make a return there. Elise has been having amazing results in the support role recently, and not so much success in the jungle. So this patch we've got a bunch of changes to try and shift that. They're reducing the damage of her human form spiderling by quite a bit, but instead they're going to be buffing up her spider form W. The active bonus attack speed is going up at max ranks and the cooldown is being reduced from 10 seconds down to 6. They're also increasing the spiderling's base damage significantly too. This could actually make a pretty big difference to her clear times and also her dueling power early game. Instead of being a stun and one-shot burst machine, she's going to be more of a consistent damage threat instead. Mel has been a bit of a balancing nightmare since her release, where she has maintained a 75% ban rate across the board. This patch, Riot are hitting her Q's cast range and projectile speed, nerfing her W's duration and the reflected ability's damage ratios, but buffing her E to do more damage but have less CC early game. They're also buffing her ultimate's AP ratio in the same update. The W is going to be a lot harder to time perfectly now, as it's losing 0.25 seconds off its duration, and the Q is hopefully going to be less broken and should be easier to dodge. But she is still going to hit very hard, especially with her buffed up ultimate. Just one other champion change too is that Axiom Arcanist now treats Twitch's ultimate as AoE damage. Finally, let's go over the system changes, and Mercury's Treads now costs 50 gold less, Symbiotic Souls now has 5 more movement speed, and Plated Steel Caps now loses 2% off the basic attack reduction, so from 12% down to 10. Abyssal Mask is losing 5 magic resist, Fimbulwinter's base shield gets nerfed, Heartsteel's bonus HP damage ratio comes down from 10 to 8%, and Unending Despair gets hit too, so overall tank items are getting nerfed pretty hard this patch. Finally, Infinity Edge gets another round of changes for the gazillionth time, now costing 150 less gold and losing 5 AD, coming from 70 down to 65. And that wraps up all the changes in this week's patch. Good luck in your games guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.